This video is about the website overview. It's basically an explanation of where different things are within the website itself, and it's nothing fancy about this explanation other than it is informative. If you click the website overview on the top right hand corner, it opens up into this page here, and you can, from this page here, actually what you're going to be looking at is if you click number 1 here, the website overview, that's going to be that will open up into this video that is playing right now. And then there are several other videos that you can open up to. When you hover over it, it turns green. You can click on it, it'll primarily open up into a video in most cases. The 2 lines here are always going to appear at the bottom of every window, and the 2 disclaimers under that will also appear on every window. When we go back to the home page, you can see that going down to the bottom we have the 2 lines and the 2 disclaimers as well. The basic format of the system is that we have a number of key items underneath the logo, and then we have 4 columns. The column on the left under System Patterns is just that. It's describing all of the pattern types that we have, both up and down. And then the other 3 columns basically describe different things. There's no significant rhyme or reason as to where they're at. You can just look at whatever you see and click on it. It'll open up into that particular topic. And so, like for example, if you go down here to Visual Shapes, you click on that and it opens up, and visual shapes and proximity shape patterns will appear, and then you can the visual shape and visual signals text is going to be here. If you open that up, you end up with what I'm referring to as the hand-drawn BOC patterns, the TOC patterns, that'd be top of cycle patterns. Then you have your low angle up and your low angle down on a peak. We call these peaks or posts. And then your low angle up, your low angle down, we call these buckets or on the bottom. You have your high M patterns, your right leg W patterns, your notch up and notch down patterns, your red peak and red spike patterns, your power notches. If you understand what a bottlenose is, it's a 3-day up pattern, and then the dashed line indicates the direction the following day. It's a reversal pattern, 3 days up with the middle line in a low angle movement. And when it's in a 2-day pattern, like the notch up or notch down, it's basically a low angle up that continues into a bottlenose pattern. And then of course crossover patterns, and then the rest of it would be you've got red green twin peaks. The left peak would be zip red and the right peak would be zip green, and that's what we refer to as a red green twin peak, and then there's red green twin spikes as well. And then a few other things. Highest and lowest indicators are very important. Don't discount those at all. And then there's position indicators, like power red is the most powerful position indicator. When it's under 0, or when it crosses over 0, prices go up. Oftentimes you get a big candle on the crossover day. And when it crosses under 0, the same thing. You get a big red candle going down. When power red is above 0, prices have a tendency to go up. When they're under 0, prices have a tendency to go down. This is why we refer to it as the position, or as a position indicator, or one that has position tendencies as far as price goes. Under the logo here, there's the top videos to watch. I've got the overview as number 2 on this. There's an intro to watch. Don't let the number 3, the history short version, fool you. That is one of the most important videos to watch. It describes how the system works in detail, and how basically it gives you just supporting information as to how we came about and implemented the ideas that we did within the system. All of these indicators, or excuse me, all of these videos are very powerful, and I've only put 13 of them here to watch. I am contemplating a 14th and a 15th, and you'll probably see those later on. But that's the top videos to watch. We also have a documents index. The documents index is basically a 32 line item. This is all text material. There's just a lot of different things in here. You can understand the 3-step formula. There's system information guide, the 3 powers of the system, the 3 gap patterns. Those are the 3 patterns that I talk about in how you find gaps. Abbreviations, I'll click on abbreviations, and this is basically just stuff that I use in the text material. Like, for example, right down here I often use capital NX, capital DAY for next day. And when you see something that you don't understand, just come into the abbreviations category and look it up. And several of these, like the rules, the history, the gaps up, gaps down, the functions, the definitions, abbreviations, about half of these are also within the columns for quick reference pickup, so that you can grab a hold of them real quickly without always going into the documents index. The documents index is a small portion. I thought we could get by with 30 or 40 items, but it just we ended up moving into what we refer to as the supporting documents. And look at this as the master file for the text information. And the index is right here. There are 4 supporting documents that we created, and as a result of that, along with the document index that I just showed you, along with that we have an index showing what is the major items within each document. And there's no, again, there's, you can say, well, why'd you put that there? Or, it's just major items that basically it's the master list of all the items. There are things that are not listed in these on this index that are within those pages or within those support documents, but we just like general comments and different things. And you can see down here in number 3, the master radar screen documents are listed. You've got these are really powerful because you talk about you got the 3 patterns to find gaps: the identical indicators, the down touches, and we're talking about a gap up in this particular case. So you have down touches in the trend chart, and then you have your power lines, your power 4, which is your pink, blue, white, and yellow. Power 5 adds power Zion to it, and then of course power 6 is your power red added to the 5. So, and those have proximity location patterns and proximity shape patterns. So the identical indicators, the down touches, and the proximity location and shape patterns are your 3 indicators. And each of those, you can, like for example, you can go to the 6 down touch alerts, because if you're obviously not familiar with anything yet, just starting out with this video, but you can go to the there are in the down touch category, the trend, red, gray, and green are your fast lines. And those 3 lines, down touch, it's like a spike down and it hits the line, then it's going to, what happens is it reacts and goes right back up next day. And if you're not familiar with it, again, the DTVB system is built on excuse me, a reversal recognition identification system, we pick the tops, we pick the cycle highs and the cycle lows. And we do it through strength. We do it through line indicator length, and we do it through divergence. Those are the two primary methods that are used to identify strength. And so all of that strength, and then you'll find that as you get into the system, you'll learn that there are, when a stock cycle changes, you're at the bottom and it changes and it starts to go up, you get a BOC pattern. It's basically just a V-shaped pattern with the right leg going up and the left leg was coming down, right leg going up. But when you have the right leg higher than the left leg, that's a BOC higher pattern, and that has more strength in the movement than a BOC lower pattern, because most cycle changes are weak or moderate. There's a small percentage that are strong, and those are the ones that we identify and try to trade. And then, of course, the ultimate is that the turnaround is a gap. It can be going down, and then all of a sudden it gaps up $2 or $3 or $5 or $8. And so those are the 6 down touches, which means it down touches, reverses, goes back up. If you do the one underneath it, this one here is the 6 up touches. Now, all of these master radar screens are box color alerts. And so you can put these on your monitor and you can identify immediately all of the down touches occur in the 6 down touches that occur, and they're either above 0 or under 0. There's 6 columns in there as well. And then, of course, you have above that, you have your proximity location and your proximity shape patterns. You also have the 7 short-term trend lines. This is really powerful. There's only 5 columns there, but we use trend yellow as the trend. You have trend yellow, pink, and blue, and those lines always move up together, always move down together, always cross over 0 together. And obviously, when you get into looking at the lines on the chart, you'll see this. But it's very, this is just a very powerful way to grab a hold of that information. And you simply do it by picking whatever document you want, and it'll open up into the text document that you are seeking the information on. If you go down, for example, to the 400 designated or designed DVD indicators, we've built 400 or more than 400. I'm sure there's over 500, but I've still kept it at the number at 400. But those indicators are pre-built and ready to go for you to put in the scanner or put in the radar screen. And that is a very effective way or very effective search method to find that next opportunity. And so this is basically how the system works. It's just there are several hundred videos on the website and topics, a variety of topics that will cover everything that you need to know about the system. Learn the 3-step formula, learn about the 3 powers of the system, the indicator power, the formula power, and the procedures power, because this is what makes the system so effective. And we don't know of anyone out there that is finding gaps before the gap occurs. There's a lot of people out there that well, here's the open. Well, this one here dropped down $5. Let's trade it. There's a lot of that going on, and they do it simply because of volatility, and that's great. But we don't know of anyone that finds gaps before the gap, and it's all and it's the sensitive indicators are the heart of the system. We have a huge amount of divergent activity because we have sensitive indicators. If you use the standard default indicators on TradeStation, you won't hardly see any divergence. But with the indicators that we've created starting back in 2007, I mean over 10 years ago, it's very, very effective. So encourage you to look at those top videos to watch first, and then go wherever you would like to from that point on. The system is amazing. The system is built on our premise when we started out was we had to find the strength in a market movement or a cycle turnaround. And so everything that we worked on for years was based on determining stronger strength in the movements, identifying that strength, and being able to then as well identify what that movement's going to do, both directionally and hopefully from a volatility perspective. So think of it this way: you've got 10 patterns that come out. I mean, for a couple of years, I think we had about 6, 8, maybe 10 patterns. Right now we have 23 pattern types up and 23 pattern types down. And those patterns are created because of the sensitive indicators. Obviously, if you didn't have these sensitive indicators, you wouldn't have the response that you do with other types of indicators. But that being said, what we've got is, if you think of 10 patterns, 2 of those patterns will turn out to be a nice big green candle next day. 5 or 6 will be a small green candle. 2 or 3 might be little red candles. But my point is that you got basically a 20% high probability ratio that next day this particular pattern that you've picked will have nice big green candles. Now, what we do is we take those conditions within those 2 nice big green candles, and we use those conditions, and we call them good conditions. So now we pick a pattern, we verify the good conditions in the pattern, and then we use the signals to enter the position to buy the stock, and likewise we use signals to exit the position. And so, I mean, a lot of money is lost because people don't know when to get in and when to get out. And so that's a real powerful part of what we put together. The patterns, the condition, we find a pattern, we verify the condition, and we use, or you might say, we wait for the signal. And that is the formula. We've got the sensitive indicators, we've got the formula power, and then we have the procedures. One of the biggest things that was mandated that we knew, I say we, but I should say that I just had to have, because in 2007 my trading abilities were extremely inconsistent. I would be profitable on one trade, lose on the next, and time after time after time. And so I wanted to find a system that would be effective, that would be consistent, that I wouldn't lose money on. And so this is how the whole thing started, but I had no intention of sharing anything. I just wanted to do it for myself and be effective in my own personal trading. And my occupation before this was a real estate developer for a couple of decades in the Twin Cities market. And prior to that, I was in real estate sales, and I've been in that industry for 40 years. But in 2006, the market started going south, or the economy started going south. The banks stopped loaning money to small developers like myself, and so I found myself looking for something to go into or to work on, or and I thought, well, maybe it's time for retirement, but I was really too young for retirement. And so I ended up creating Day Trading Visual Basics. And it's just a fantastic system. It works extremely well. It's a technical analysis system, and I mean very technical, but it's very powerful. And you're gonna be amazed at what it can do. That third pattern, we take those 3 patterns and we find the gaps up, and there's 3 types of conditions. You've got the requirement conditions that make the pattern, you've got the good conditions, and then you have the extra conditions. And the extra conditions are what give us really big gaps. And so that's the idea behind what the system does, but it's all predicated on that very same premise. We find a pattern with good conditions and we wait for the signal. And of course, in the 3 pattern gap patterns, the signal is already there from the idea that we need to buy it before the close of the day. And all that's explained in the system. But again, it's a powerful way to be confident in what you're doing. You can be knowledgeable, independent, and confident. And that's what we strive when we are sharing. We strive for each trader to be as we share this system. So listen to some videos. I encourage you to take the 14-day free trial. But before you do that, listen to a lot of videos so you get the understanding of what you're looking for, because the 14 days goes by real fast. And you'll definitely, if you spend an adequate amount of time on the website, you'll understand things that are happening. Like why is Zip Zion lowest and going up, always an uptrend, when it stays and remains the lowest and goes up? Why is it exactly the opposite? When Zip Zion is highest and going down, as long as it's highest and it's not buried under some of the other indicator lines, it ends up you're in a downtrend. There's one line patterns, and there's obviously multiple indicator patterns. But a great system. Take a look at it. We hope you will understand it more after you look at videos, because the question is often asked, what's more important, the next trade that you make or the system that you use to find the next trade that you make? And obviously it's the system, but it is very powerful. I mean, keep in mind my situation. Back in 2007, my premise was, I'm going to trade and I'm going to find a system that'll work. I'll be trading and I'll pick up something and I'll enhance that method or technique or whatever it is, and then I'll have a system. I did my first trade without building one indicator. I just thought that price was going to go up. And it did go up initially, but within an hour I was losing money. And so you need to see where the market is going. And that's why we created the mandated the idea of the procedures power. You need to analyze the indicators and compare them with price movement, and each and every day that you do that will increase your knowledge and make it so that you're more confident in what you trade. Keep in mind too, when you have taken the pattern, you have picked the conditions. You might find 5 patterns and not one of them has good conditions. Well, you got to find something else. But if you find that pattern with those good conditions that are defined in the pattern rules, and the rules are in the 4th column of the under explanations on the website, If you find that pattern with those good conditions and you wait for that signal, what are you doing? You are buying a opportunity in that stock that has an extremely high probability of going in the direction and in a reasonably strong level of volatility next day. And so you just wait for the open, you go on to the 2 or 3 minute chart, wait for the bottom of the cycle, and pull the trigger. And then by the end of the day or sometime during the day when you reach a peak, you exit your position. If you're going to hold it overnight, then you're a swing trader, and that's fine. I hold overnight on many occasions, but I think of myself as a day trader. So it's just amazing. Until you have worked with sensitive indicators, you do not realize how powerful they are. Because I can tell you how great they are, but until you experience them, you don't know the difference. You can't understand the difference. So take a look. Have the desire to make yourself better. That's a cliche that we all want to do that. But I kid you not, when I was trading, I didn't have one indicator built. I went along month after month and even years and thought every time I added a new indicator, I thought I had a better system. And I didn't even realize that I didn't have a system at all. I just had a bunch of sensitive indicators. And then after we started discovering patterns, 5-6 years later, after I started in 2007, we then found patterns, and that's when we put the patterns with the conditions and the signals giving us the formula. And once we established the formula, it's taken us a lot longer to get this off the ground than we thought, but we wanted it really effective. We didn't want a system that was not complete. We wanted to be able to have a basic system, have one that's powerful, have it easily utilized by beginning traders. Keep in mind, in 2007, we were beginners. I made my very first trade in 2007. But that's exactly why this system is powerful, because I had the inability or the lack of experience to understand that I didn't know what I was doing. And so it's just like, as a developer, I developed real estate. I determined that, I'd look at a piece of land, and then before you bought it or before you made an offer, you found out you were asking hundreds and hundreds of questions. What's your competition doing? Basically, is the nuts and bolts of it. Well, the same is true when you're developing a product. The number one question you ask is, what is missing? And that's when what's missing? As a beginner, I could think that through. Well, it doesn't have this, or it doesn't have that. And the identifying the strength of a turnaround, the strength of a reversal pattern, to be able to see that strength on the very first day and make that determination as to whether that turnaround is going to be weak or strong. I don't know of any other system that even does something as simple as being able to identify strength, let alone to be able to identify gaps. So the whole system was built on that strength idea. Everything we did after that point was to find strength in the movement. And gaps, of course, are the ultimate push. And that's how, basically how we started this, how the system evolved. So, again, I've taken too long. Thanks for listening. Encourage you to listen to many other videos.